Hey there, it's JohnBerry555, and welcome to my full review of Star Wars: The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 11, Metamorphosis. So as I said in my spoiler-free review, link down below, this episode was an episode that drew on horror scenes to help tell its story, and I had also mentioned in my spoiler-free review how I enjoy it when Star Wars brings in genre elements from genres other than sci-fi and fantasy, because it really helps flesh out the universe. So while I'm personally am not a big fan of horror films, I do appreciate how this episode brings those elements in to tell its story. And man, that opening sequence was straight up horror. Probably the closest I've previously in Star Wars, because I've never read, the Death Troopers book or some of the other more horror books. But man, the acclimated level of Star Wars Republic Commando, whoo, this brought me some reminders, and not just because a clone commando was being chased around in the opening sequence. And you know what? Speaking of clone commandos, that's the only Imperial soldiers we see at all in this episode, just clone commandos, which fits nicely, I think, for establishing why this episode they are drawing on Holston's and what's really going on, because it's delving into the secret projects of the Empire, not the stormtroopers. No, it's the other really secret stuff that Palpatine, the Emperor, he doesn't want the wider galaxy to know, so he's only using the clone commandos to, do it. He's keeping it a secret. Which, in a sense, when we first saw the Stormtroopers, then referred to as TK Troopers, it was clone commandos doing the training. Not regular clones, the commandos. And again, here's another project that the Empire is keeping secret from the galaxy. And who do we see as the soldiers enforcing it, keeping it secret? Clone commandos. I have a feeling there is something there. But you know what? That's all what the Empire was doing, besides, trying to, convince Lamassae to help them with the project, which we figure out where it's later on, thanks to Omega. And speaking of, Crosshair again did not appear in this episode. He is overdue for an episode, but I think the setup might have been provided at the end of this episode, but I'll get to that later. So, the batch, when we first see them, they're contacting Sid, and they're mad at her for not helping them in any way, not coming to rescue them herself, not sending somebody to do it for her. They're mad at her, and basically she what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, I think she picks up that they're mad, but she acts like it was nothing. Really, if they wanted to ally for a pirate, Hondo would have been a better choice. Especially because if you get on his good side, he likes you. Sid doesn't seem like you can really get on her good side, because it's always about what can she get out of it. Because that's really weird. I'm just gonna bring in Star Wars Rebels. Hondo, he helped liberate Lasar for Ezra for no other reason that he said he would do anything for that boat. Clearly shows that he's a pirate for hearts of gold. That is not Sid. Sid is a pirate, is a smuggler, all that stuff, a scoundrel, but does not have that heart of gold. Will only do the right thing if there is something in it for her. But no, she does get the batch to go on another mission by saying, okay, I won't give you your standard rate of 30, I'll give her 50. But take so that the bitch you get though. She said, I'll give you 30 first, and then Texas, that's our standard rate. And they eventually, without saying a thing, pretty much get her to agree 50%. So they go, and guess what they find? They find that ship from the opening sequence of the episode. It's now crashed on a planet. And they knew they were going to come for a crash ship. But what they find on the ship is horrific. I mean, the horror seems all bound in here. So they do split up, and I'm like, oh great, because I saw the opening sequence, like, Tech, do not go off by yourself. Thankfully, it's all right. He does restore power to the ship and all that. But it was kind of a bad thing, but they didn't know it at the time, because unbeknownst to them, there was something on board the ship, a monster that we saw all the way back in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I forget if it was season 1 or season 2. Let's see. I can actually check it because I have those 2 seasons. Yeah, that would have been season 2 with the Zilla Beast. So those are the only 2 seasons I actually have on disc. But that's neither here or there, as I struggle to put this back on the shelf. But yeah, the Zilla Beast makes an appearance, or more actually a clone of the Zilla Beast, but not quite. there's like something off about it. But they recognize, oh, Omega recognizes the Cameron tech. So after the Zero Beast escapes the ship, Hunter and Wrecker go aboard the ship to stop it, because they let it out and they did not want to hurt the town. And Tech and Omega go to retrieve what data they could. And because of Omega's knowledge of Cameron cloning tech, they were able to find that information they needed. And we do learn that Omega was vaguely aware of the Camerons doing some kind of cloning project, but that was being kept secret from her. I think what we found out what it was, but I really do appreciate how this episode is all connecting all the way back to those two episodes over the three, all the way back in the Clone Wars. Well, anyhow, they eventually, figure out what's going on. Obviously, they figure out it's a Zilla Beast and all that, and they recognize it for what it was and all that. And of course, then the Empire comes. 3 Venters, gunships, like, they come in full force to retrieve the Zilla Beast. Not to kill it, to retrieve it, because they want it for whatever research purposes they are attempting to find out. And you know what? And like, they mean start attacking the Marauder, but then they also send troops to the village, and by the end of the episode, they have rounded up the entire village. So they want no witnesses. In fact, and actually, Scorch is the one who tells the Imperial scientists that we rounded up everyone, but one ship escaped, and the scientist tells Scorch to find out what that ship is. So something's going to come up to fruition. But what's weird is right after that, the scientist, the former Prime Minister of Camino, arrives on Mount Tantus, and, well, they get talking, and because the Imperial scientist wants to get Lamase's cooperation, so the Prime Minister tells him he needs to find a young clone girl. That's Omega. So the Empire is now once again probably going to be looking for Omega. And probably the only lead they have on it will be either the former senator for Camino. Hey, you gotta remember what happened in Truth and Consequences. There are the consequences they may have to deal with because of Omega revealing the fact that she was a clone to the senator. But there's also Crosshair. And I'm pretty sure it's known that the Bad Batch did pick Omega up. So, and they know Crosshair was once a member of the Bad Batch. So put 2 and 2 together. I think we could see Crosshair again soon once the Empire starts hunting them again. Especially because they also have the scans of his ship once again. So, yeah. But the Batch also make one very intelligent choice. The data that they got in the Zilla Beast, they do not send to Sid. They decide to send it to Rex and Echo, which I think was a very smart choice. And you can tell none of them like, should we send this to Sid? They like signed the agreed to that, which I really do like. But yeah, this was definitely a very fascinating episode. And well, it's really ramping up. It's ramping up the plot. It looks like that Batch is once again on the Empire's radar, but specifically Omega, because the Imperial scientists, because of what the former Prime Minister Camino said, is they need Omega to somehow gain Lamase's cooperation. And that I'm nervous about, but we just gotta wait and see. After all, Crosshair, they're probably going to wrap Crosshair into the hunt, but let's remember, he did not let the Empire know that the Batch escaped the destruction of Camino, so there is something there. His loyalty to the Empire is not absolute. He still cares about his family, his brothers in the Bad Batch, so who knows how that's going to turn out. But I think I'm going to end my review there with that little bit of speculation. But I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section down below. Also, be sure to check out my reviews for the first episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, also coming out today. And if you haven't done so already, feel free to like, upvote, and share the video. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.